Everyone, listen up. You didn't lose your money. Now, you have your... Technically, you kind of lost your money.
I would not touch crypto in a million years. So if you have your money in any of those, look, I'm not calling you an idiot. I'm just saying you're using a lot of blind faith. And I like to have my money at JP Morgan. It feels good. And I think that everybody who owns these various coins, I do think you're an idiot. Okay? I did not go to college to get stupid. These people who own these things should not own them.
Today we're going to be looking at Bitcoin as we've finally broken above that $100,000 resistance level. And if we can potentially look to even higher price targets such as $200,000 or even higher. And where better to start on this historical day than the profitable days chart we have here on BitcoinMagazinePro.com, which as I film this, we can see Bitcoin has been profitable now for 100% of its history. If you'd have bought Bitcoin at any point during its existence over 15 years ago and held it to this point, you would be in profit, which is pretty amazing considering we started from a fraction of a penny and are now over $100,000 into the six-figure territory, talking about a $2 or $3 or $500,000 Bitcoin being an actual realistic outcome in the next few years. It's crazy to think how much we've grown. And if you held and made it this far, congratulations, you do deserve all the profit that has come your way. So what other charts can we look at to maybe gauge whether Bitcoin can reach higher levels? Well, I think the first one we should look at is the Bitcoin cycle master chart, which is taking into account an array of on-chain metrics to kind of give us a really simplified look at a fair valuation, aggressively valued and overvalued Bitcoin price. And if I just zoom in here, we can see as I film this, Bitcoin is around $103,000-ish. And we can see that the fair market valuation currently is around $65,500 for BTC. So we're currently considerably higher than this, especially now as we're approaching this aggressively valued line, which is around $110,000. So I think that's going to be the next level of resistance for BTC. I know now that we've broken through 100,000, you're going to see everywhere on social media. And of course, your own personal biases are going to be looking to how high can we go? Can we get to $250,000, $500,000? But we need to take this one target at a time. Don't get too carried away with everything. Let's still take a data-driven approach with everything. The aggressively valued line of $110,000 has historically been a pretty key level of resistance for BTC. If I just zoom in over the previous couple cycles here, we can see here in 2016, 2017, Bitcoin broke above this line after testing it a couple times, came back, retested it, made it support, came up, retested it support again, and again before we actually rallied to that overvalued line. And similar story back here in this previous cycle. We can see this actually aligned pretty nicely with once Bitcoin had broken above $20,000, that big psychological level. If I just look around here, if I move this way a little bit, once Bitcoin had broken above that previous all-time high, that big psychological level, it reached this aggressively valued line, had a little bit of a consolidation before breaking higher. And that kind of looks like where Bitcoin is today, where we broke above our previous all-time high, this big psychological level of $100,000. So then if we can reach this and have a little bit of consolidation around $110,000, then we could be ready to march even higher. But one amazing thing is, like I said, if I just go to this here, we can see from the Genesis block on the 3rd of January 2009 to today, December the 5th, 2024, it's been 15 years, 11 months, and 3 days to break $100,000 for BTC. But if we look at something like the cycle master chart and just the previous cycle here, we can see once we broke above this aggressively valued line at here around $23,000, $22,000, it was only a couple of weeks before Bitcoin practically doubled to $40,000. We can see it broke above here on December 23rd, 24th. So pretty much 4 years ago. And then it was January the 8th, which we set the next local high above $40,000. And a very similar story here. Once Bitcoin rebounded off this aggressively valued line on November the 12th, 2017 in our previous cycle, it was only, again, a few weeks before Bitcoin had hit nearly $20,000. And even more surprising, if we just zoom in specifically over this price section, once Bitcoin had finally broken above the big psychological level of $10,000, which at that point in time actually aligned very nicely with this overvalued metric, we can see that was December the 1st, 2017. And on December 16th, we had doubled 15 days later. So as I film this on the 5th of December, it seems outrageous to imagine Bitcoin doubling and hitting $200,000 on December 20th. But historically, this has happened. Those percentage gains have happened before. Is it likely? Maybe not. Obviously, we require considerably more capital inflows into a market that's multiple trillions of dollars in size compared to a few hundred billion. But who knows? Anything's possible. And if we just go to the MVRV Z-Score here, this also kind of reiterates that even though we've had this big rally to the upside, we are far from considerably overbought on this metric. This is looking at the relationship between the Bitcoin market cap, or the Bitcoin price multiplied by the circulating supply of BTC, and then comparing that to the realized price, which is the cost basis or average accumulation price of all BTC on the network. So if I just zoom in on this realized price, we can currently see it's at around $37,500. So that's the average price every BTC has been bought. And if we just go back to the MVRV Z-Score here, we can see that this usually tops out in the regions of 7 or 8 or even higher 9 or 10 values on this. And currently we're at 3.16. So are we a third of the way through this cycle? Who knows? What we can also do is if we remove the Z-Score and on the MVRV, we can see this is not standardizing the data for its volatility or standard deviation like the Z-Score is. This is just purely looking at the relationship between that realized price and the market cap. And what we can see is this currently sits at a value of 3.16, which means that realized price, if we multiply that by 3.16, we'll get to the actual BTC price. And what we can see is in previous cycles, this actually usually reaches a value of 4 like we did in 2021, or even a value closer to 5 in 2017. So what we can do is just work backwards, multiply this realized price by a value of 4 or 5 to kind of gauge how possible it would be. And considering this currently sits around $37,500, but only a month ago it was sitting at around $33,000, we can see this is increasing by about $4,000 every month. So if we only need to increase this to $50,000 for then an MVRV multiple of 4 to reach $200,000, we could see that within 4 months' time. Now, one other thing to consider is this actually rapidly increases in the last stages of cycles. We can see where we probably are comparably to previous cycles is in the 2017 when we first broke above that psychological level of $1,000. From that, the realized price absolutely went exponential to the upside. And similarly, in 2020, once we broke that big psychological level of $20,000, this started to rapidly increase. And I think if we now look at something like the cycle capital flows chart, we may be about to see the final retail surge that we've all been kind of waiting for and anticipating. Usually what we see is in the early stages of cycles, it's predominantly controlled by more experienced and long-term holders. And it's only when we really break some headlines and some major resistance levels that retail start flooding back in. They FOMO in, they don't want to miss out on the gains. And what we can see is this gives a really clear indication of when that's happening. So this red line here is just indicating when the realized cap hodl waves, if we just scroll down here, is predominantly controlled by new investors entering the market. That was terribly explained. But essentially the realized price, the average accumulation price, when that is mainly influenced by new market participants, we see this percentage increasing. So we can see in 2017, this reached about 66% nearly, in the previous cycle, 54%. And currently we're still even less than we were when we set the previous all-time high around $74,000 at around 29%. So we're maybe only halfway there in terms of new retail flows coming into the market. So when you take this into account, when you look at the MVRV Z-Score, the realized price, the Bitcoin cycle master, all of these are pointing towards considerably higher Bitcoin prices without us already being considerably overbought. So if anything, I think the fact that it's taken 15, nearly 16 years for BTC to reach $100,000, I'd be very surprised if it takes even a tenth of that to reach $200,000 or even substantially higher. Also, if you haven't already, please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to ensure you're receiving all of our content as soon as it's released. And make sure to check out all the resources we've discussed today, as well as the many more that are all available on bitcoinmagazinepro.com, your number one source for Bitcoin analysis. So just to summarize, we have officially broken into six-figure territory for Bitcoin. December the 5th will be immortalized in the history books as the day Bitcoin surpassed the $100,000 resistance level, nearly 16 years after its inception. And if you have, it's typoed, auto-corrected me there. If you have hodled this far, then congratulations, enjoy the moment. I hope you have bountiful profits in your portfolios. I certainly am enjoying this moment. I even put the green shirt on today, not just because it's freezing, but because this is a green day. And what we can see is if history is any indication, the next $100,000 for BTC will happen considerably sooner than the previous $100,000 did. We can see the next level of resistance we need to be watching is probably that aggressively valued $110,000 level. I didn't even say what the overvalued was. It's currently at about $178,000. But one thing we do need to do is make sure we don't get carried away. I know things are great at the minute and everyone's incredibly happy, and so they should be. Bitcoin reaching this milestone is a monumental achievement. But really, you're going to start seeing things on social media, YouTube, your favorite platforms, your friends and family saying that any price is possible for BTC, that this could be a super cycle, that we could see $500,000, $1 million Bitcoin prices. Is that possible? Of course, anything is possible. But realistically, if the data is pointing towards Bitcoin maybe getting a little bit overheated, no one's ever gone broke taking profit. Remember to rotate when the time says to do so. Follow your strategy and use a data-driven approach without relying on your own emotions and biases, and you'll almost certainly outperform a vast majority this cycle. If you like this video, then please visit bitcoinmagazinepro.com, where our analytics help you to cut through the noise to make informed, data-driven decisions about Bitcoin. With over 150 live chats, personalized indicator alerts, in-depth crypto industry reports, API access, and more, all for a fraction of the standard industry price. And let me know what your thoughts are on Bitcoin breaking above that $100,000 level. Do you think we could reach $200,000 in the near future, or do you think maybe we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves? Also, let me know what you thought about the intro. That was actually made over a year ago when Bitcoin reached about $35,000. I just thought today would be a great day to reuse that. And if there's any other video ideas or any other content you'd like covered over the coming weeks, let me know, and have a wonderful festive period. Thank you all very much for watching. Enjoy this day, and I'll see you in the next one.